Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you today to come here to my YouTube channel and to create with Franz on the podcast that talks about mindset and how we can change our mindset to create the life that we want, learn those strategies that are useful for us to move forward and really find satisfaction and happiness instead of just grinding the whole day and getting nowhere. And one of the problems we're going to talk about today is the fact that it's very hard to find a job. We're going to go deeper in a little bit, but first, let's introduce our first and only guest of the day, which is Tamara Nall. And hello, welcome.
Hi, Franz. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. I do say this every time, but I just get so excited because now we have problems that we want to solve. And what is the problem? I was just reading this morning and I'm recording this in the end of March. I know it's going to go in May, but that's the problem. BBC News, okay? So, UK. I've applied for 500 jobs in 2 months since graduating. You have to work 10 times harder to work for a role that 10 years ago you could have got very easily straight out of university, says 22-year-old business management grad Charlotte Briggs. This 2 months, she applied for 500 roles. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of printer going on. And she's very upset because she got a 2-1 degree, which is a very high level, top level, like with laude in Italy. She worked really hard to get it, and Tamara will know because she has a lot more than 1 degree. But she just get rejected because she doesn't have experience. And according to the ONS figures in the UK, 22% and more of the people 16 to 24 cannot find work.
Mhm.
London, which is a place where you go and get a job in 2 hours, has the highest rate of youth unemployment after, I think, the Northeast, which is notoriously hard. So now we have a 16.1 average rate, which is the highest in 10 years. And London it is finding impossible to find jobs. Hospitality is going down, there's COVID that happened. So there are a lot of people who are struggling, and lots of them are people like Teo Dal Pozzo, 23, has a first class master degree in computer science. He applied for 500 jobs, it's been rejected. And I'm like, wow, what's going on? And what he's saying is there are so many people that are applying for so many jobs using AI. And then the job listings are being scanned by AI. So always CV AI. So what happens is it's very hard to differentiate yourself from all these other people. It could be hundreds of people applying for the same job. And in the end of the day, because of the collapse in tech job openings, we find out that all these young software developers, engineers, that 5 years ago we told them go to university to get a really well-paid job. Now they don't know what to do. And so there are lots of suggestions here, but I think we're kind of out of touch here. We're not really helping people to get to this first step of a ladder. And that's why I call here Tamara, because she's really an expert. And with all her qualification, experience, and quite a few entrepreneur activities going on that you can talk about. Tell me first, why are you qualified to tell us how to get your resume seen?
Well, I think the number one reason is because I've been through it. I am a serial entrepreneur and an investor, but prior to that, I worked in consulting, which is a very competitive, and this was many, many years ago, and it was competitive then. So forget the degrees at this point, with my story, I am qualified because I've experienced it. I know how hard it is to find a job in a very competitive market. It was competitive then, it's even more now. You have AI that, as you mentioned, friends there. And I'm also qualified because I sit on the employer side. So we hire, dozens and dozens, if not over 100 people per year for the work that we need. And the competition is very, very, very steep.
And that is the reason why we have so many people looking for work and so many people who can't get a job. But the purpose of this show is not to tell you how gloomy this is, but how to get out of a situation. And Tamara yesterday was talking to me and telling me what are the main mistakes that we are making that cause our resume to never arrive to HR.
Right. Right. So, and I think you did a great job of kind of like laying the foundation. And so when we talk about the mistakes, I want us to be very clear about what the issue is. But I want to start by saying you're not alone. I know it feels lonely. I know you're applied to over 500 different roles and have applied to different, hundreds and hundreds, but you're not alone. And so that's why this great podcast is here as well. And so, yes, every year there are millions of people who walk across the graduation stage believing that the hardest part of their journey is over, it's behind them. But what they discover pretty quickly is that the job market isn't waiting for them the way they expected, but sending out hundreds of applications. Some people are taking jobs unrelated to their studies that they paid a lot of money for, high tech, even graduate level degrees. And I think a lot of people wonder and they ask themselves, what did I do wrong? I spent all this time, all this money. When I think that part of the issue is that the system doesn't prepare people for work and having kept up with how hiring works today. And so we've got to start with that and then talk through some of the mistakes that are going on. And so again, what I said was education and hiring are misaligned. So a lot of universities teach theory, textbook exams, academic performance, but employers like myself, and there are thousands of them, we look for practical experience, problem solving. And one area that I look for, and a lot of my colleagues look for now, is that EQ, that emotional intelligence, that ability to kind of walk into a room and scan the room when you have to talk to multiple people, whether it's a team, whether it's a client, because quite honestly, there's a lot of IQ out there. They're really smart, brilliant people. But what we do find that's lacking and a mistake that people make is to not hone in and kind of build on that EQ. We also a lot of mistakes we see is we don't see a lot of collaboration and adaptability in some of the resumes and the conversations that we have. So I feel that employers are no longer looking for hiring degrees. We're looking for hiring evidence and we're looking to hire evidence of capability. I think another thing that we can't ignore is that entry-level jobs or even mid to higher level jobs have changed. You mentioned this, Franz, earlier. We have automation, AI, and AI is literally rapidly changing. We have outsourcing, productivity software. So, quite honestly, graduates are in tighter markets. And with the compression of the markets and the financial markets and the job markets, not only are you having graduates who are competing for the same jobs, you now have people who've been laid off and lost their jobs or, as I mentioned, outsourced. So you have a graduate who's just, you know, finished school and graduated, competing with a person that has 10, 20, 25, 30 years of experience. And so it's a much, much tighter market and the competition is there. And again, I think that we have failed as a system because we don't and haven't taught students and individuals, even if you come from a non-traditional route and journey, because it doesn't have to be with a degree, of course, how it works. Most students, and huge mistakes is you're not taught and you haven't worked on networking and building references and finding mentors and champions. And those are two distinctions there and creating warm leads and positioning your skills. So I think that again, students are taught how to pass exams, but not how to build a career. And even in my own, when I started working, quite honestly, on finding my job as a freshman in college. So 4 year, I'm talking about the US system here, 4 year university and I started there through internships, etc. And so we can kind of get into some of the solutions, but I think that really is the issue. And those are some of the mistakes that students or even non-traditional job seekers make when they are seeking for positions.
Thank you. I think it's very thorough, and I can understand how when you come out of school, you have all this theory there, but
Mm-hmm.
you were not in a gardening school where you're there putting the seeds and growing the plants. Most of the time they spend there in the classroom,
Yep.
essays, and maybe you get to talk to the professor, ask questions, but in reality you haven't been in the field practicing any of those particular skills that you need. And one is to get along. I think that, I don't know if you expect a question like this, but isn't it true that now being stuck on doom scrolling, social media, using AI for everything, it's not really helpful when it comes to become sociable, to be able to connect, to be able to communicate, to show emotional understanding of what's going on with other people, because now all we know is how Instagram works and all these little apps that we have. But when it comes to be in a room with a board of directors and colleagues and a team, we don't know how to build a team because we're just stuck in our bedrooms with our devices the whole time. That's the impression I get from reading lots and lots of articles in the Western world, Australia, US, and Europe in particular. People are very stuck to their devices. So much the professors have to get them to switch off their devices during the lecture. How is that going to apply when you go to work?
Right. So I agree with you that as a society, we are stuck to our phones. We love our phones, we love social media. I would flip it a little bit because I am a AI, I have my doctorate, my focus was machine learning and AI. So I love it. And my research is around human AI relationships. So I love that as well. What I would do is, and it's kind of going into solutions, but I would encourage people to take that love for tech and Instagram and okay, yes, you use it to catch up with your friends and you use it to figure out what's going on with celebrities or in the world. But why not then flip it to also use it to connect to find a job? If that's what you like to do, try to use it to your benefit other than it just kind of like being something that you're connected to all of the time. When it comes to AI, etc., and I have had conversations with professors because people do reach out to me to kind of give them advice and think what I'm thinking, what's my opinion, what's my take on it. My take is AI is not going anywhere. My take is that while I get that people, when they take tests, they're like, we're going back to paper and pen. We're going back to, pencil and paper. I get that, but it's not sustainable. So I encourage my professors, quite honestly, to think about how can you test the knowledge and not the textbook. Maybe they need to reconsider how we test. Maybe it's not just a definition in ABC or none of the above or all of the above. Maybe it's more of their reading about a protagonist that had to deal with a special issue in the business world if it's business. Or maybe it's the screenwriter that has to come up with a script and this is the situation, this is the issue, and what would you do in that situation if you had to leave, and let them do it in a team, present it, be it online. So that would help with their presentation skills, that would help with their kind of collect their thoughts. So I encourage professors to kind of think through how they deliver. Now, on the consumer student side, it does not benefit you to find all the answers through AI because then you can't think. And guess what? When you do interview for a job, we're going to sense that because in our interviews, we ask case-based related questions. If you are a computer programmer, a coder, we're going to ask you something related to that. If you're a case manager, we're going to ask you something related to the type of people you'll have to manage and help them through. And you're going to fail because guess what? You're not going to be able to use AI to answer me in that moment. You think you might be able to, but I'm going to be able to see your eyes and be able to tell that you're not. So you don't do yourself justice by using AI. Now, if you think about, and this is just a little bit more higher level, a dissertation. When I was working on my dissertation, I did have to do a lot of research. And you know what? It would have been helpful, I think, to use AI to find all of the research, right? But I would never use AI to give me the solutions because guess what? I've got to defend my thesis. And so I wouldn't have AI when I'm doing that. So are people going to use it? Yes, but you do yourself a disservice if you do. And if you're always on social media, flip that to a revenue generating
Yeah.
stream, or use it to your benefit to help you connect with people to find a job.
Excellent. I love this shift because these can be productivity tools, efficiency tools. But the
Hmm.
process of thinking and going from A to B has to start in this brain when we can expand it using all the tools that we can use. But that
Hmm.
doesn't mean that we should let AI do all the jobs. Also, remember, was it last year? I can't remember. It was a court, somebody won a case in court. And then
Yeah,
the
they took
decision
their
was
license.
reverted because
Yeah,
all the cases were not existing. It was just an hallucination by AI. And my husband, being a law professor, we talked about it.
yeah. The frauds will be found. You are not going to sustain your career or even get your first job if you have depended on AI. And yes, they took their license away. They can no longer practice. And you know what? People's lives depended on that judgment and that decision.
Mm,
So I don't blame the decision. I'm sorry. Now you can't use it. And
yeah.
and and good for that. There has to be consequences to your actions.
Yeah, so we can't use AI for cutting corners. It can speed up a lot of part of the process, and maybe what we can do is ask AI, ChatGPT or Gemini, Claude. You can ask, how can I do this task better? How can I
Mhm.
organize my calendar better? And remember, the AI is always very confirming and affirming. Whatever you say is gonna say yes. You have to know how to prompt it to give you those answers. So going back now to the work search. Let's come out. I'm 18, come out, just got my high set or GED or whatever school graduation here or GCSEs in the UK or diploma in Italy. And I got this piece of paper and I don't have interest to become a doctor or a lawyer. I just want to get a job. All the entry level jobs are being wiped out because productivity tools are there, AI is there. This is like the industrial revolution. So,
Mhm.
what am I supposed to do now to get my CV seen by people, to get these interviews? It's all about networking. What if I'm not very social? What can I do?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, if you're not very social, that will be a challenge because at the end of the day, people like to work with people whom they trust. Even if I'm meeting you for the first time in an interview, you have to be personable. I have to feel like you have credibility and you're going to do the job. That's just what it is. So if you're not as social, I think that, think about what you're passionate about. And whatever you're passionate about, stretch yourself to have conversations, starting with, a friend. Okay, I'm going to say this, friends. You might not agree with it. Start with having a conversation with AI and Chat GPT or whatever LLM. Say, I'm not as comfortable. Act as a employer who's interviewing me, and keep having these conversations until you get comfortable, and then elevate to a friend. um Join, if you do Reddit, or if you like Instagram and you have, friends or family, or you've got to test it. You've got to get out of your eggshell. There are some jobs that don't require, as you to actually work with people. You can be an independent contributor, but you've got to get the job, most of the time, and that's going to be some likability factor. But then going with your CV. So I think the good news is that a strong career doesn't start with a job title. It starts with the experiences that show you who you are and what you can do, but most importantly, what value you can bring. So you're shy, we'll get to that. But first, you've got to be able to get the job, right? And that does most of the time start with a CV. So I think another mistake, we were talking about mistakes, is that people build their CV or their resume as a list of jobs, and it's not that. Your CV needs to be a story. People love stories. There is a certain format that's accepted, but even in that format, it has to be a story of capability. And where can that story come from? It can come from volunteering, it can come from projects, internships, apprenticeships, community service and community work, leadership roles that you've had in college, freelance work, networking. There are so many different places that can show and demonstrate your capability. I will say that overwhelmingly, when we interview students these days for some of our positions, so many of them just want to get through school in the shortest amount of time. So they don't have any summer internship experience. They don't have any lab and clinical experience. They have no experience, but they, proudly boast that they were able to cut off, a quarter of their school time, graduate in 3 years versus 4 years. And quite honestly, at least for us, and I do believe for most people who want to employ, you're going to hire over experience. Even if you are the valedictorian, 4.4, highest marks, GPA, compared to someone that doesn't have as good as grades, but they have the experience. They took the summers to get an internship, or they, had an internship in school while they were working, or some work study job or something. We, without a doubt, are going to hire the person that has some kind of experience over the person who just decided to just focus on academics and graduate. And this advice isn't just for non, those that've gotten degrees, it's for non-graduates too. So some of the most successful professionals that we've hired, some of them did not take a traditional university route. They focused right after high school, if they got a GED, on their skills and the reputation and the relationships, and they built relationships with us. And those have been some of the most successful employees that we've had. And some of those could be, maybe entrepreneurship, skilled trades, freelancing, as I mentioned, getting the certifications along with the apprenticeships. So I think that the current job market isn't just asking, did you follow a traditional path? It's asking whether you're a student or a non-student, what value are you bringing to the table, and what experience can you show me that you've done, whether it's leadership, like I said, work experience, internships, what have you. What value based on those experiences can you bring to this company and to our clients?
100% totally true, because you want a person that spends maybe a few days shadowing people and then he knows, yep, I now can just get on and do the job. Not a person that you have to spoon feed everything because they've never taken an initiative. And I think that could be an important aspect of our mindset that we can look
Mm-hmm.
at. It's just changing the mindset. Nobody's gonna come with a silver tray and offer you the job. You're the
Mm-hmm.
one bringing them
Right.
this offer, and you can have experience babysitting or taking a
Mm-hmm.
dog for a walk or somebody. What is your job? You want to work in a zoo? What are you doing the whole day home? Go
Mm-hmm.
volunteer in gardens in zoo. Go volunteer at the library, at the museum, at the local organization. And as you are volunteering, people will notice what you're doing and you
Mm-hmm.
grow your skills. And guess who is going to write a very good recommendation letter?
Exactly.
Those people. you know, because you done it for free, but you have learned, do you like this job or not? How hard it is? Oh, good. You can't cheat on the job. You just have to get on and do it. It's no
Mm-hmm.
longer, oh, the professor will give me an A. No, this is like, can you fix this or not? Because
Mm-hmm.
every job advert is a list of problems that we have to solve.
Mm-hmm.
So if we
Absolutely.
cannot solve those problems because all we do is theory and maybe video games the whole day, and we expect things to be given to us, the entitled generation, huh? When we're 20, oh, I can do this because I got a diploma. Everyone has a diploma, everyone has a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you different? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a person that takes the initiative. This is not working, that's not working, so I'm gonna fix it. And I think that's a great mindset to
Mm-hmm.
to have when you come to the job interview.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's mindset, and I'm going to get to that. I was going to give you another example. So I actually am involved with, several universities, pretty much a lot of them where I'm either a trustee on the board or my alma mater. And I happened to be on campus at George Mason, and there was this gentleman that got up and he presented his research project. Now, it was for a grade, but I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was getting clean water to like certain villages or if it had to do with food scarcity. I'm not sure. I was blown away by that gentleman. He's still in school, but I mean, he is somebody that I have on my radar because I heard of his research, his academic research, and the way he thought about the problem in a different way. And he keeps in touch with me. He finds some reason to send me something, an update about something that even if you might think it's minor. So he is always at the top of my mind because he keeps in touch with me. But you best believe that either he's going to work for us one day or I'm going to refer him within my network for him to get a job.
And that's the point. Even if you're working at the homeless soup kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
you can learn managerial skills. Even if you're in a charity shop 2 hours a week, even if you're cleaning at the museum, if you're cleaning the city, you're learning how to work
Mm-hmm.
with somebody. You can't just wait that a $3,000 job will land to you just as
Mm-hmm.
in the post because you got a shiny diploma, because maybe this didn't even exist in the 80s, but now it's very important. And this also leads me to my last observation. We were talking yesterday about having a warm lead. Can you explain this and how we're going back to traditional connections?
Exactly. So when I talk about a warm lead, I mean, somebody introduces you, somebody presents you on behalf of for you. So I've done that. There have been people who have reached out to me and said, "Oh, hey, I wanted to send you this resume because, I worked with this person. Actually, even if it's my son or my daughter, I'll give them a look and I'll send them to my recruiting manager. And you better believe that my recruiting manager will kind of bubble them up to the top to be considered. And so we will do what we can to make sure that, they get hired, they're strongly considered, or that we refer them out. So I call it cold leads, warm leads, and hot leads. So cold leads is basically when you're out there applying to hundreds of jobs. You're just a number, and you better believe. I mean, I can tell you for one position, sometimes we get like 1,000 applicants. We have one position and we get 1,000 applicants. How can we get through it? But if somebody sends it to me and they, meet, I'm not gonna, if it's an internship, I might be a little bit more willing to but if it's somebody I've got to present to the client directly, then that experience is gonna be well. And if they send it to me, and some of those are warm because maybe I met them at a conference or while I was speaking or maybe on a prior contract or something like that. That's a warm. I know them enough for it to be warm. And then hot is, you know what? I'm going to reach out to my cousin. I'm going to reach out to my neighbor. I'm going to have my mom or my dad reach out to the soccer coach that they work with. And that's because they know you well. That's a hot lead. Or someone who believes in you and trusts in you. That's a hot lead. And I think that everybody should put together a relationship map. And don't be embarrassed if it's slight. Put together a relationship map. Where are your strongest relationships? Are your network, your sphere of relationships, and try to tie it to, if there's a place, let's say you want to work at, I don't know, let's say Disney. Go into LinkedIn. LinkedIn is wonderful. LinkedIn is wonderful. Do the research. Ask people, do you know anybody who is within a 1 or 2 degree of separation from Disney, who can kind of talk to you or kind of put your resume forward? So that is what a warm lead is. I love the hot leads though. So
Yes, it's a warm lead, and it's time to go to the tips because I want you guys to finish the episode and get a pen and paper or get your computer or tablet and start writing down your action plan. What can you do today to get started with an amazing resume or with creating the networking, the hot leads, and everything else? So, microphone is yours again.
exactly. So the first tip would be build experience before you need it. Build that before you need it. It's so important. We talked about it before. Volunteer work, helping local businesses with their social media or admin, project work, research, community. Experience doesn't have to start with a paycheck. It starts with a contribution. And that is so, so, so very important. So that would be the first piece of advice, or the first tip. The second tip would be And we just talked about that in terms of warm, hot leads, right? Create the relationship before your job applications. Is this easy? No, it's not easy. But you know what? It's easier than applying to 100 jobs and you're competing against thousands of people. So create the relationships and network. Go out to events and don't let it be about a job. Let it be about because you're just interested in learning about people and attending industry events and learning about a topic. And you kind of already have your questions there. Somebody is there because they're also interested in the topic or what have you. So have your list of questions, even if you're shy, to say, well, a simple question is, so what did you think about this talk? Or, what brings you here? I listened to a podcast once that said, don't ask somebody what they do, ask them what exciting projects are you working on these days? Because what they're going to do is they're going to talk about what they're excited about. It could be something related to job, or it could be something related to a hobby, or it could be something related to a family. But the key to that answer is they're going to tell you about something that excites them. And guess what? In your mental, or when you walk away and have to put the note in your phone, you can remember that. Oh, I talked to Gerald. He loves the fact that he gets to coach his daughter's soccer. So then you can put together a cadence of how often you're going to reach out, every 3 months, every 2 months, and just ask, hey, how was your daughter's soccer season? Because you've asked them, what exciting things are you working on? And that's important. So industry events, connecting on LinkedIn, getting mentors and champions, and that's a whole nother discussion about the difference of those. And then make sure you join professional associations. I believe networking is not asking for a job, it's building the relationships that will open the door for the job.
Exactly. Very,
And
very good
oh,
points.
yes. And then my last tip, that was tip number 3. I know it was a little long-winded, was make sure you learn what the market actually needs. I actually haven't been bold enough to say this, but I have some people that I know whose children are focused and majored in actually dying industries, if I have to be honest. And that's fine if that's your passion. That is fine. But if you're going to major in something, try to specialize in how you can turn the industry around or automate the industry or create some kind of skill set with it. So really, really, really study the job descriptions and the skill requirements and the industry trends, and then develop those skills. That could be digital tools, communication skills. I started by talking about EQ. Please, if there's nothing else, I beg you, beg you, beg you, hone your EQ skills, your way of reading the room, your way of rallying people to empower people to lead and to get something done, being able to listen to what your team members are saying or listen to what the customer is saying and understand what they're not saying, and just bringing that EQ in there. Data literacy, AI tools, project management, all of those things are so important. I think the smartest career strategy is to build the skills that the market is asking for versus trying to force where you are into a market because they won't accept it because that's not what they need.
These are all amazing points. This is so good. It looks simple, right? Oh, these are basic things, but most people are not doing it.
Yeah,
That's
they're not
why
doing it.
the
I see it every
CVs,
day.
yeah. And you are hiring every time. How many degrees have you got there?
I have 4 degrees. I have 4 degrees, and I'm going to tell you a little secret. Degrees are great, but it doesn't have to be your path. Like not everybody has to get a degree. I'm going to be honest. Undergrad, I have a BBA in marketing and a BS in chemical engineering, and I got that because I went to my career advisor, and she told me that I should major in liberal arts because females can't do business and engineering. And I thought, thank you so much. And I went and applied to the dual degree program. And I showed her that I could do it. I don't suggest that. I don't suggest you do whatever somebody tells you you can't do, but it motivates me. And then I got an MBA from the Harvard Business School. And then I got my doctorate in engineering from George Washington, the George Washington University, where my focus is machine learning and AI. And with that one too, I got an honorary degree as well, honorary PhD. And my minister a long time ago had everybody to stand up in church. And he said, I want you to stand up if you have an earned degree, even though he knew I had just got an honorary degree. And that was his way of, I guess, of poo-pooing my honorary degree or telling me he wanted to get an earn. And there again, I said, you know what? No one's going to ever do that again to me. And so I went and did it. And I'm glad I did. I don't encourage you to go and get so many degrees because someone tells you can't do it. But you got to know your passion and you got to have the confidence to know that if you don't do it, who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? If not you, then who? Who's better than you? So if you have some weak points or you're not confident, you don't feel comfortable interacting with people, find position yourself and imagine yourself in a place where you're happiest and just try a little bit at a time. Take baby steps. No one's saying jump out there and go on the big stage and like run off crying because you take baby steps and then go there. Go there from there. So yes, I have the degrees, but it's not necessary.
Yes. And sadly, we have to close. I just want to thank you so much, Tamara. This has been so good, so
Oh,
helpful.
good.
You guys go and check her out. See if you can contact her. Maybe you want to work for her. Maybe you want to do consultation. Maybe you just want to see what she has for you to learn how to grow into your job instead of waiting for a job just to follow you. So remember to click like, subscribe, and share
Yes.
this episode with everyone. We really need it now. Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you, Franz, for having me. I've enjoyed myself.
Me too. I'll see you all next week then. Bye bye.
Bye bye.